thought to start with Luang Por Pasanno doing the Namo because that's the largest section of this day's reading presentation. So, final reading presentation of the winter retreat, and I'll be doing 2 readings from Handful of Leaves number 4, which is Ajahn Jeff's translation of the Anguttara Nikaya, and then I'll be playing an excerpt from a Luang Por Pasanno Dhamma talk, which will be the largest segment of today's reading, so to speak. And so, since we've been going through Anguttara Nikaya number 8, 30, the Anuruddha Sutta, and since it's the last one, I thought I'd just read the brief one paragraph sort of as a recap. This is page 373. The Blessed One said, "Now what are the 8 thoughts of a great person? This Dhamma is for one who is modest, not for one who is self-aggrandizing. This Dhamma is for one who is content, not for one who is discontent. This Dhamma is for one who is reclusive, not for one who is entangled. This Dhamma is for one whose persistence is aroused, not for one who is lazy. This Dhamma is for one whose mindfulness is established, not for one whose mindfulness is confused. This Dhamma is for one whose mind is concentrated, not for one whose mind is unconcentrated. This Dhamma is for one endowed with discernment, not for one whose discernment is weak. This Dhamma is for one who enjoys non-objectification, who delights in non-objectification, not for one who enjoys and delights in objectification." Okay. And so I'll just be reading a short sutta on this Nippapancha, non-objectification, non-proliferation, non-complication. And I chose this, found it because I found it inspiring, and also it talks about not comparing oneself to others, which is also something that Luang Por Pasanno mentions in the Dhamma talk I'll be playing in a moment. So this is Anguttara 6's number 49 with Khema on page 287. On one occasion, the Blessed One was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's grove, Anathapindika's monastery, and at that time, Venerable Khema and Venerable Sumana were staying near Savatthi in the grove of the blind. Then Venerable Khema and Venerable Sumana went to the Blessed One, and on arrival, having bowed down to him, sat to one side. As he was sitting there, Venerable Khema said to the Blessed One, "When a monk is an arahant, with his effluence ended, one who has reached fulfillment, done the task, laid down the burden, attained the true goal, totally destroyed the fetter of becoming, and is released through right gnosis, the thought does not occur to him that there is someone better than me, there is someone better than me, or there is someone equal to me, or there is someone worse than me." This is what Venerable Khema said, and the teacher approved. Sensing that the teacher approves of me, Venerable Khema got up from his seat, bowed to the Blessed One, circled him, keeping him on his right, and left. Then Venerable Sumana, not long after Venerable Khema had left, said to the Blessed One, quote, "When a monk is an arahant, with his effluence ended, one who has reached fulfillment, done the task, laid down the burden, attained the true goal, totally destroyed the fetter of becoming, and is released through right gnosis, the thought does not occur to him that there is no one better than me, or there is no one equal to me, or there is no one worse than me. That is what Venerable Sumana said, and the teacher approved. Sensing that the teacher approves of me, Venerable Sumana got up from his seat, bowed down to the Blessed One, circled him, keeping him on his right, and left. Then the Blessed One, not long after Venerable Khema and Venerable Sumana had left, said to the monks, "Monks, this is how clansmen declare gnosis. The meaning of gnosis is stated, but without mention of self. Yet there are some worthless people who declare gnosis as if in jest. They will fall into trouble afterwards." Then the verses at the end. Not as higher, lower, nor equal do they refer to themselves. With birth ended, the holy life fulfilled, they go about, totally freed from fetters. And now the final segment is, this is resuming the Luang Por Pasanno Dhamma talk. We'll just be playing the first part of it. And I believe it was the end of the 2015 winter retreat, and actually would have been sitting right where the speakers are, I think, so that's very appropriate.
The last Saturday night of the retreat, and retreat's over in a few days, and there's the kind of perceptions around end of retreat, whether it's can't wait until that's over, or whether it's trepidation that it's going to be over. Yeah, those are just movements of the mind, dukkha either way. Or thinking in terms of how did I do on the retreat, trying to gauge it, measure it, give oneself points, subtract points. It's it's sort of the way that the mind kind of constructs things, especially when we think in terms of how did I do, how did I do on the retreat, and almost invariably what we do then is compare ourselves to others, and that's a fruitless endeavor, that kind of comparing mind, because there isn't really, can't really make a comparison. You have to be able to pay attention to, well, what did I experience, what did I feel, what did I learn? And there isn't really a tangible, concrete way that one can compare oneself to others in anything, really. It's usually a biased process. Either one's trying to compare oneself to others to be able to lift oneself up and put others down, or compare oneself to others in order to look at others and hold them aloft and then put oneself down. Yeah, and both of those are just, it's more complication, more suffering. And just learning how to be attentive and clear as to, well, what do I experience? What is my experience? It's like Ajahn Thitapanno using the phrase, it's like this. Yeah, it's like this, whether we feel it's gone well, or whether we feel it's wash out for the whole time. It's like this. Or like Ajahn Chah would say, Khema. It's nothing much. It's just this much. It's no big deal. You know, in the sense of, you know, if we felt wow, it was so great. It was such a great retreat. Khema. It's just something that arises and ceases. And main thing is, did we create any suffering around it? Or are we going to continue to create suffering after it? And that's the measure that the Buddha gives us to be attentive to. And the machinations of the mind to try to make something out of ourselves or out of the world around us is just that much. That's what I say, like the word samsara. Usually we think of it as a place. Samsara is the world. We think of it as a place. Of course, what the literal definition of the word samsara is just wandering on, and that tendency for the mind to wander on. It's just more reaction, more fear, more control, more irritation, more desire, more peace, more refinement, more insight. And it's just this samsara, it's just wandering on. The mind always wanting something more, not content, not still, not relinquishing, not giving up. Samsara. You know, to be able to recognize that tendency of the mind to move and wander, go on to the next thing, you know, whether it's out of desire, fear, idealism, it's just more. And you know, it's just that much. But of course, just that much in samsara is a lot. Because it's like what the Buddha has said, what is more? What is more? The water in the oceans, or the tears that you have shed while you have wandered on, while you have wandered through samsara? And of course the Buddha said, well, the tears that you shed are more than in the ocean. Enough to be tired of it, enough to be willing to be free from it, and to not be buying into the things that keep us wandering on. And it doesn't matter whether it's a reaction to the coarse desires, refined opinions, just keeps things moving. And as long as there's that wandering on, attachment to samsara, then of course we keep suffering. The Buddha gives us the skills, the tools to allow us to be free from that, and to be able to particularly in context of the retreat, to be able to take the experiences that we have had during this retreat and to plow them back into our understanding, our discernment, our clarity, and our stability, our firmness. That tendency to be shaken and moved by the things that we experience. It's an endless experience of samsara, and it's experience of dukkha, to be able to be attentive to that. It's the opportunity that we have at all times, really. Of course, it's not just about retreat, but we're in retreat. We've had time to really practice, to reflect, to investigate, and to develop a familiarity and a comfort with just sitting still. And by sitting still, I don't mean just sort of sitting in meditation posture with one's back upright, which is a good start, and I recommend that to restlessly moving over or slopping all the time like that. But the actual sitting still in terms of the being attentive to that stillness of mind, the stillness of heart, recognizing the habit of mind, the force of the mind being pulled to desire or to fear or to aversion, and how to encourage it toward relinquishment, toward compassion, to a sense of stability and ease with whatever arises. Just using that phrase of, whatever arises, whatever we come into contact with, it's only that much. We love the stories, we love the kind of drama sometimes. Because sometimes, sitting still, because we're always looking for something. The mind loves to get worked up about things, especially if it's about ourselves. That's one of the most compelling stories. Me and my life. But just the way that the mind loves to loves to kind of that story, like they say, the mind with fear. We love to worry about things. We become fearful of different things, and it's like statistically, we're far more likely to be injured moving furniture than we are to be injured in a terrorist attack. But that, in terms of people living in the world, thinking about all the things that are going wrong in the world, that's the latest sort of monster under the bed, or there's a terrorist attack. Or we're much more likely to die of the flu than, say, of Ebola or something, some thing that's in the news. By huge proportions of statistically, you're far more likely to die from the flu than some things that go through the news that people get excited about and fearful about and grab the headlines. And that's the way our mind works. The stories, we get excited about them. And just looking at the way that they, because again, that's part of that samsara, that wandering on, that push, that draw to something else, something other than being content and clear and stable and free in this present moment. So to recognize that we have the opportunity to exercise different choices for ourselves with wisdom and discernment, to be able to take an interest in that. Because The nature of the mind is such that so much of what not so much of everything that we experience in the mind or the citta, the heart, isn't actually solid. It doesn't have that much solidity. It doesn't have a concrete existence. What we experience are impressions, perceptions, conjectures, extrapolations from experience. That's how the mind works. But the mind then concretizes it and makes it into something. It's like when, we can carry around people in our minds. So and so's like this, and so and so should be like this. So and so shouldn't be like this. But so and so is just a kind of projection. It doesn't have a solid reality in our mind. We don't have real people in our minds. But that's what we project them out. We don't have real things in our mind. What we experience are, say, colors, sensations, it's built up through memory and association. And then we impute that and solidity to it. And we make a world for ourselves that's either fearful or is unstable or is that we chase after with our desires. But we're doing that. And it's important to recognize that it doesn't have this solidity that we think. It's like these nights. It's the moon is coming out. Skies are clear. If we had any water here, which we don't, living on the mountain, but if we had if there was a pond here, and it's like nighttime, just like now, the moon is out, and we saw the moon on the water, it'd be really very clear, and you'd wow, it's like you could, the moon would be there, and you could just reach out and touch it. Of course, if you did reach out and touch it, what would happen? Your hand would just go into the water. It's just a reflection. But it looks real. And that's so much of what we experience has that same solidity. We think back at our memories of what we felt, how we perceived, and we create a solidity there. Like thinking back at some of the memories of when we were younger, and we still carry either some kind of think of something that we did that was really embarrassing, and it invokes that same feeling, and it's that could be, well, it depends how old you are. In my case, it could be decades ago. And so it's those are when we invest in it, and we make assumptions. And that's not I'm not lobbying for people to just say it's all unreal. You don't have to think. You don't have to take responsibility for it. But it's get it in perspective. It's just that much. Learning how to understand the true nature of things, so we don't have to create that extra edge of suffering that we're so adept at creating, to pay attention to what is it that is what's useful, what's true. So that this the training that we've done, the practice, the meditation, learning how to take that into our daily life.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Got to give some pithy summary or comments to wrap it up.
Oh, geez, I didn't plan that.
That was very refreshing. Thank you for choosing that talk. It's a very pithy talk, actually.
Heartwood.
Heartwood. This is our last group teaching session of the winter retreat, so if anybody has any comments or questions, gotta wait till next year.
Well, on that note, I think I speak for everybody, just to express thanks and gratitude to the Ajahns and the others for the time spent researching and coming up with these talks and bringing them forth and sharing them with us over the course of the winter retreat. I really appreciate it. And this was a very nice way to close it out. It was very surreal hearing unexpected to hearing a voice coming from up there, and kind of like a Satori moment there for a second. Thank you. Appreciate all the effort.
I just thought your voice had gotten much deeper. But I've also appreciated the sutta readings, and I look forward to the morning reflections this coming year, but also it's just been so nice to get back in touch with the suttas. So if during our morning reflections this next year, I would be, it's always really fun for me to hear suttas. So if those get inserted in there now and again, I would certainly. At Mapjan, I never really looked into the suttas much, so it's been nice to be immersed in them.
Okay, let's go practice.